County history. It's a very different kind of set of events that took place on August 16th of 1889. And he's going to tell you about that right now. I'm getting out of his way because we're going to have fun. It's a full house, and y'all are going to be glad you came.
Thank you, Ken. Can everybody hear me okay? Before we begin to talk about this Jaybird Woodpecker saga, I have a confession to make. I'm not a scholar on the subject. Instead, I consider myself more as a student who has been asked to present this topic to his class. I based this presentation from material taken from someone who was a scholar on the subject, Pauline Yelderman, who wrote a book entitled The Jaybirds of Fort Bend County, a work that earned her the prestigious Governor's Award for Best Historical Book of 1979. Part of my training as a technical writer is to take apart relatively difficult material and put it back together and present it in a way that suits a particular audience. Needless to say, I found this task challenging. With this all said, let's start by going back 123 years ago, approaching about 6 in the evening on the 16th of August, 1889. You're walking along Morton Street in Richmond, heading from the river to the courthouse. On the left side of the street, you pass by the Brahma Bull and Red Hot Bar. You hear a steady stream of masculine discourse competing with music performed in the street. Near the entrance of this bar, an old, bent-over black man is dancing and singing about the tension hanging over the town. The jaybird flew to the woodpecker's hole. The woodpecker to the jaybird says, "God damn your soul." The jaybird says, "You needn't for to cuss, for I didn't come here to stir up a fuss." The woodpecker says, "I've my doubts." The jaybird says, "I'll make you walk about." You walk further up the street past the National Hotel, the hot afternoon sun burning your face. You wipe the sweat from your brow. You glance around and sense that everybody in Richmond is going about the day as usual. You move further up the street and overhear two men talking. "Did you hear what happened earlier this afternoon?" "No, tell me about it," replied the other. "Old Albert George is locked up tight as a tick in the jail. Deputy Sheriff Mason heard him say he was going to shoot some woodpeckers and took him in." "Well, I'll be," answered the other man. "I heard later that old Red Hot Frost told Will McFarlane to go get George out, but he was so drunk asleep he just left him there." "You don't say." You walk a little farther up the street toward the courthouse and you see a man talking to some women, another man just sitting on his horse, and a little black girl skipping across Morton Street. You know that both sides, the jaybirds and the woodpeckers, have been anticipating a shootout for a long time, that they are determined to settle their political differences, even unto death. But what you don't know is that in the next instant, all hell is about to break loose. But before I tell you what broke loose, let's review what led to the incident. Perhaps it was the summer heat. Sometime in July, the two factions entered into an uneasy truce. And somehow they arrived at the conclusion not to look about town with Winchesters in hand. Consequently, everybody seemed to find a convenient place for their firearms. The jaybirds scattered theirs in places of business along Morton Street. Some were stashed at McCoy's drugstore, but most of them were stacked in a corner of the Brahma Bull and Red Hot Bar. The woodpeckers made the courthouse their arsenal. News began to spread far and wide that all hell was about to break loose in Fort Bend County. So Governor Sol Ross dispatched to Richmond a ranger force of 2 officers and 6 privates. When they arrived, Sheriff Garvey told them he didn't ask for rangers and didn't like them taking on his duties. Other than sensing Garvey's resentment, the rangers felt that everything appeared under control. Meanwhile, the young jaybirds were hustling and bustling about, organizing a beach party. They were making arrangements for horses and carriages, tents, and other provisions. 40 persons, including the Mitchells, Gibsons, the Pearsons, Calvin Blakely, Dudley Bell, and others, with their ladies, along with a few older persons and chaperones, left for the beach. Ranger Sergeant Ira Aiken and his accompanying officers breathed a collective sigh of relief as the Jaybird party rolled away. But the Woodpeckers had been smelling trouble all along and wouldn't be fooled. They saw the beach party as rude and figured something was about to happen. No one really knows why, but the Jaybirds did rush back to Richmond from their beach party on the morning of August 16, 1889. So now we're back to where we started our story, 6 p.m., Friday, August 16, 1889, and both sides are primed for battle. Little Roby Smith, a Negro girl, crosses Morton Street to run an errand from Mrs. Newell's to the Moore home across Jackson Street. Jaybird Gil Gibson, standing, parleys to a couple of young ladies in front of the Winston store. His brother Volney straddles a large sorrel horse a little further down the street. At about the same time, Woodpecker's Judge J.W. Parker and Deputy Sheriff W.T. Wade exit the courthouse, mount their horses, and ride down Morton Street towards Parker's home. Having eyed the Gibson brothers, Woodpecker Sheriff T.J. Garvey gets up from sitting in front of McGee's saloon, calls over to Parker and Wade and says, "I smell trouble." So instead of heading home, Parker and Wade ride to Parker's law office. Parker dismounts, enters the office, opens a metal vault, and secures his Winchester. Next, he and Wade ride back toward the courthouse when they see the Gibson brothers riding toward them. As fate would have it, the four men meet at Booton's Corner on Morton Street. Without warning, bullets start to fly, and little Roby Smith, caught in the crossfire, falls to the ground. Her lifeless body lies in the street. As quickly as he can say lickety-split, Volney Gibson shoots Judge Parker in the back. Parker digs his spurs into his horse and gallops towards the courthouse at a fast and frenzied pace. The Gibson brothers follow in hot pursuit, exchanging shots with Parker along the way. Meanwhile, Deputy Wade dismounts. Volney shoots at him but misses. Wade begs Volney not to shoot, pleading they are kin. The initial shots had been heard all the way down at the other end of the street. Jaybird started grabbing their Winchesters and rushing out of the Brahma Bull and Red Hot Bar. Others of them stream out from various establishments along Morton Street. The preeminent Henry Red Hot Frost, like an avenging demon, leads his excited phalanx of men. They head directly toward the courthouse, weapons drawn, ready for a shootout. Fellow Jaybirds, Volney and Gil Gibson, join them just moments after chasing Parker back into his woodpecker hole at the courthouse. Every Jaybird in hearing range knows what's happening. Whether they like it or not, today is the day of reckoning. Will McFarlane rushes home, snatches his Winchester, and joins the Jaybirds advancing up Morton Street towards the courthouse, where City Hall stands today. The Rubley Pearson exits his father's law office in the Frost building, toting his Winchester and a six-shooter. He takes up a position behind an old boiler lying near the courthouse square. Clem Bassett, at home, hears the shots and hoofbeats, looks out an upstairs window, and witnesses Judge Parker riding hell-bent toward the courthouse. Jeff Bryan is enjoying a bath when he hears the shots. He, wasting no time, and pardon the expression, naked as a jaybird, slips into a duster, finds his six-shooter, exits the street ready for battle, all within a couple of minutes. Other Jaybirds join Pearson around the old boiler. On the other hand, many Jaybirds stayed home, tucked away safely in their nests. Children playing in the streets, fleeing for home in fear. As Frost leads the Jaybirds along Morton Street towards the courthouse, Deputies Mason and Smith join Sheriff Garvey and approach it, just in time to witness Judge Parker fall from the saddle and say, "The cursed Jaybirds have assassinated me. A lot of them are coming up the street with guns. Let's go down and stop them." Frustrated, he calls on Mason and Smith to speed it up. Judge Parker drags himself to the courthouse, Garvey and Wade not far behind. Judge J.M. Weston, also a doctor and already in the building, hastily inspects Parker's wound. Deputies Mason and Smith quickly join their fellow woodpeckers in the confines of the courthouse. Next, Garvey looks out the window at the approaching Jaybirds and exclaims to Parker, "Yonder they are, the street's full of them. They'll riddle you." Garvey snatches up his Winchester, walks from the courthouse, and stands, waiting in the street. Wade, Mason, and Smith follow. It takes several minutes before the struggling Parker joins them. Just as the initial shots rang out, Texas Ranger Sergeant Aiken is in camp giving quinine to a ranger's sick with malaria. He stops what he's doing, leaps into his saddle, and heads for the courthouse. Ranger Smith and Robinson follow. By the time he arrives, Sheriff Garvey and Deputies Mason and Smith are standing in front of the courthouse drawing their Winchesters. Aiken rides up to Garvey and pleads with him to go back into the courthouse and let the Rangers handle this. Never, Aiken, replies Garvey. I'm sheriff of this county, and I'm going to handle this situation myself. You keep out of it. Aiken then rides up to the Jaybirds and takes hold of Volney Gibson's gun barrel. Volney jerks it away, points it at him, and says, I don't want to hurt you, Aiken, but you can't take my gun and stop this crowd. We're going to clean them out of the courthouse this time. Aiken says to Gibson, don't you know you'd be shooting your own cousin? And Gibson replies, Wade stopped being my kin when he became a Woodpecker scallywag. Aiken made no moves to stop Frost. Judge John Ballow, who was standing on the sidewalk, calls to Frost to stay where he is, but probably is not heard or is just ignored. Deputy Mason's wife, fearing for her husband's life, rushes up to stop Frost, but is frightened by the terrible look on his face. In any case, it's too late. No one can stop Frost and his agitated Jaybirds. Suddenly, the bullets begin whizzing fast and furious around everybody's heads. Aiken remarks, all hell is puking. When he realizes he can't stop the impending shootout, he calls to his two Rangers, save yourself, boys, this isn't our fight. He then rides between two buildings and watches the whole thing. The other two Rangers are hemmed in between the two groups and are caught directly in the line of fire. This time, the Ranger legend, one riot, one Ranger, doesn't hold true. The only thing the Rangers can do is keep cool and remain neutral on the side of the Jaybirds. Frost and Garvey are now face to face. Frost yells, trot out your brave Woodpeckers. The cowardly Jaybirds are coming. Someone among the Jaybirds shouts, they've been assassinating us long enough. We'll kill them as they come. Come on, the Woodpecker yells. Go on, the Jaybird calls to his flock. Then silence.